Welcome back. Episode 9 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast. Today's going to be kind of a special one because we have two of our estimators from National Pavement Partners in here. We got Mr. Michael Medved, and then we got Gabriel Martin here with us. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to sit down with us.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You kind of have to, I guess,
That is
because
very
your
true.
office is right there. So
Well, mine's being painted, so
yeah. So Gabe's kicked out. We're doing some remodeling, kind of the background. So if you guys hear noises or see people walking by, disregard that. But we're doing a lot of painting going on. So today we just got done kind of wrapping up. It was kind of like an end of the year meeting, going into 2023 meeting. What we've been doing is bringing out a lot of our problems that we've dealt with this year, small stuff that comes up on the jobs, and then what we're doing is we're trying to create solutions for them or work our way through it. I think that's a big problem with a lot of companies is you have all these problems going on, but nobody takes the time to stop and slow down and realize and figure out how to fix them. But what I want to ask you guys is, and I don't even care who goes first, what has been the hardest part about this whole season for you guys? Sorry, you, Mike. Sorry.
I guess the hardest part for me is I came from Texas, so I guess there's a little bit of different scopes here. You guys are a little more full depth areas, so I think it's just getting accustomed. Like I said, I had to see how you guys' crews worked. You got to see the different paces, how the plants operate. Everything's a little different, so that'd probably be my biggest adjustment. Is just what's the right word? Apples to apples to see how it lines up. So when I bid stuff, it bids correctly.
Yeah. How would you say? So you talked about like the full depth stuff. What else is different out here versus estimating out in Texas?
I mean, you got the snow plus coming in, so you got to be observant of that. So if want to put in some wheel stops, some speed bumps, you got to be prepared for that. As into Texas, you never have to really worry about snow. I mean, you get a little bit of ice, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then the seasons, the temperatures. I mean, in Texas, you're going 12 months a year. Here, it's kind of like take what you can get, especially in this time.
Yeah. And how thick is asphalt out there in Texas? It's like
Most parking lots are 2 inches, and their heavy duties are 3 inches.
really
Up to here, almost everything you run into is 6 inches
at
minimum.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference. Make sure you're accounting for it in your extra mix.
when you're over there, do you do more than multiple lifts, or in Texas, or is it just one lift when you do a parking?
It all depends. Like if you're doing the parking lots, you can go in and do one lift. But if you're going to be doing the city streets, where it's going to be 5-7 inches, that's where you're going to have to do the multiple lifts.
Okay, so city streets are.
Yeah, if you're going
bigger,
cities,
yeah.
county, that's where you get your biggest. But in parking lots, you're really not going to see over 3 inches.
How about So what part of Texas were you in? You were kind of Austin-ish area. Is that right?
I've lived all over, but Austin's where I have my experience in asphalt. I was there for about 5-6 years.
Okay. And with that, have you noticed because Denver traffic I think is pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Do you notice that there's a big traffic factor that you have to put into play, or is it kind of comparable to Austin?
It's kind of comparable. Austin has horrible traffic, especially on 35. Anyone that's been there knows. It's just the way Denver is. Austin's it seems a lot tighter. So it's a lot easier to get around, within 30 minutes. As the Denver's more spread out and seems like there's more people on the road. So you definitely have to kind of that. If GPS tells you it's going to take you 30 minutes to get there, plan for 50. And that's
Got
what
it.
I've learned.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a good way of putting it. One of the other challenges I love to bring up is you're freaking colorblind.
That's real fun in this industry.
So especially us, because we're very sitemap heavy and we do colors and stuff for our phasing maps using SOS. I remember the first time you came in my office, you're like, "Hey, and I got a weird question for you. What color is this?" Like, well, that's green, but that's grass, Mike. That's not anything. So I can imagine it's a constant issue for you, or you have to really verify what's actually correct on your maps, because it could lead to a costly mistake actually. Like if you
For sure.
if you don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, especially on proposals. Let's say I have a blue section and I put on my proposal blue. I got to make sure that lines up with the actual map. And so it can be a headache, but luckily of you guys that follow it, people are used to it now, walk in your office and, the dumb question, what color is this? Like, well, that's yellow, obviously. And so I'm like, okay, well, thank you. And then, yeah, so it's just double checking whether it's someone in the office, whether it's my wife at home, whether it's getting on the phone with somebody and sending them a quick snapshot. It's just
Yeah.
a little extra, but You know, I'm getting it down, I feel like.
Work our way around it.
Well, that's funny. That's funny because Mike and I have worked on a few projects together, and before I even start something, I'm like, Mike, tell me what colors you could see, because I need to know. I mean, I don't want to. Your reds and greens are similar,
Yep.
so I'm like, okay, don't use red and green, but then I'll use orange, which is close to red, and it messes things up. So I got to be conscious of that, and it's just fun today. Like I say, I made fun of making fun of him for having Broncos colors, but I was just messing with him. So
Yeah, on your socks.
you could really trust me though, Mike.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, it keeps me on my toes.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I'll say that.
That's just one thing I noticed about you is when you first came in, you consistently wore some vibrant, bright ass colors. And learning about why, it kind of makes sense. But I think you do actually like the bright colors, anyways. But
Oh yeah, I do like them. It's just the bright greens and the yellows. That's just a hard one for me. That's why
see
our
it.
logo is green, and I finally got that down.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Now you know, man.
yeah, it's not yellow.
when he got the Arizona shirts,
Yeah, the
the
orange.
orange. I'm like, no, do you got an Arizona shirt? And I said, you need an orange one. And he went and looked at them.
Oh, that was
He's like,
cruel.
this is not orange. You're just messing with me. I'm like, no, seriously, it's orange, dude. And he asked like 3 or 4 different people. He's like, what color is this? Because they looked all the same to him.
Still don't trust anyone. It's still
Yeah.
not orange to me.
It was funny.
Well, we swear it is, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're as we start expanding branches, we want to like change those colors up just slightly depending on where we're at. So I
Yeah.
think it'd be pretty cool little branding thing. How about you, man? You've had your biggest year in sales, but I know it was a very hard year for you too because with more output or more sales output comes more challenges. What has been like the hardest part of this year for you?
Honestly, the thing, I mean, yeah, it has been for me. Crazy selling almost 5.8 million,
Yeah,
and the hardest thing for me is I think, like I've always said, is letting go, because I've always treated projects like they're my baby and trusting the field to do things right. Uh, I know they're gonna do right, but it's kind of like I feel a little bit protective over my projects, might it be?
get it? Yeah.
And I want to make sure everything's going right. I don't like to micromanage, but I like to know what is going on.
Yeah, you like to stay on top of your jobs.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing has been when there's lack of communication, or right now towards the end of the year, every time, if this being from the field, coming from a superintendent standpoint, whenever August is done, I already know, okay, asphalt plants are going to start running into issues. Those breakdowns, those yearly breakdowns all the time. And I've been dealing with that quite a bit
On your jobs.
these past couple months, and fortunately, asphalt's done. So
Good.
yeah, right now we're done with that. Unless it's emergency patchwork, then we're gonna be ready to go again March.
So you'd say delegating's been your biggest learning how to delegate.
Learning how to delegate and trusting, even though I know the people do a good job, it's just that trust, because I expect them to do it as if I do, and
Yeah,
I'm
you
kind of very
want your vision
meticulous
to
in
be
my
seen.
things.
Exactly. Yeah, because as a salesman, you paint the picture, and you sell it a certain way to the customer.
Yeah.
And we always every contractor probably is like, oh, we have the best paving crew in town. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you guys sell it in a different way, as of like, here's how I think we should perform it. These reasons why. Like, what are some other things that you bring up when you go to sell? That kind of gives you the extra edge, or like what kind of experience do you provide to the customers that makes people say, all right, I want to work with Mike?
When I show up to a job, every customer is different, so you kind of got to get a feel on that. But you just want to make sure the customer understands what you're selling them and what they need. You can just show up and go to anyone and be like, hey, I'm going to do a little 2x2 patch and just be done with it. But if you want to break down, let the customer know, hey, I'm doing this for this reason, and kind of give them a plan, not necessarily like a pavement plan. And just you got to, I don't know, I can't really think of the right words for it, but I don't know. Like I said, every customer is different. So when I walk up to a job and let's say it's a drainage issue, I want to make sure I address that drainage. I explain to the customer my thought process, and then I want to make sure that they understand what I'm telling them. Because sometimes we use some words like alligatored, and stuff that normal customers not
yeah.
going to know what that means.
Yep.
And so when we say alligator, we kind of got to explain to them, show them an example of that area. And I think just being very transparent is what the customers have seemed to like.
There's a fine line between oversharing information with your customers versus teaching your customers. We've had a guy that used to work for National Pavement Partners back in the day. This guy knew everything about asphalt. His problem was is he would overshare with the customers the technicalities of it. The customers don't care that much.
No.
But if you give them, teach them like cut and dry stuff, like here's alligatoring, which is a common issue, which you'll see on all your properties. Teach them stuff like that so they can somewhat understand the lingo. I think that helps them out tremendously. So you put
Yeah.
like really, you give
I like
them
to
a
put
lot
myself in the customer's shoes for say, like especially when it comes to I know if I want something done, like if I want a quote, I want that quote back in a day or two. I don't want to wait 2 weeks for a quote.
Yeah.
If I give you a proposal and say it's approved, I don't want to wait 2 weeks to get on your schedule. Even if the schedule's 3 months out, at least I want to know I'm taken care of. And so I think little things like that, putting yourself in the customer's shoes, helps out quite a bit.
Speed is a huge thing.
Exactly. Yeah. If you sit on a proposal, they're going to shop around like they're ready to buy now. They know what they want. They want their driveway fixed. They don't want to wait around 2 weeks to get a quote. They want to know what that price is going to be today.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't get it back to them same day a lot of times, but within reasonable time. So I think it's just putting yourself in the customer's shoes and how would you expect?
And that's it's true testament to how you work because you crank out proposals, and you came in. I mean, this year when we brought you in, we had a lot going on in the company. In full transparency, we hardly ever even ran you through training and stuff. You just kind of got thrown into it.
Sweet.
And
Yeah, luckily, transferred over pretty well from what I was doing, just a little bit of estimating system, getting used to that. But
yep.
man, you guys all been a huge help. I mean, might not have been next to me holding my hand, but if I had a question, you always picked up your phone. I walk into your office, like the colorblind thing, for instance, something as stupid as that, you always had time to answer for. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, but that's why we gave you the silent producer award because you came in and put out, I think probably the second most amount behind this guy in opportunity, like $30-something million.
Yeah, that was part of my goal. Kind of wanted to get my name out there. And then I'm kind of like Gabe in an instance. I like to keep my crews busy. So if I have to, produce more jobs initially on the smaller end, just to keep my guys going, that's what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, you got to keep your guys happy. They work harder. And then, you got to give them their hours.
Absolutely.
No one wants to come in for a little 5-hour day or a 35-hour work week. They want to come in and make it worth it.
So you think about ahead of time too, like what the crews actually want. And
Exactly.
It's not every time you're going to win a job because you have that expectation. So you're like, yeah, we are not going out there for only 3-4 hours. We're in charge full day. If we lose it, then it's not worth our time.
Exactly. It has to carry its own for the guys. The guys, like I said, if it takes 2 hours to do, no guy's going to want to come to work for 2 hours. It doesn't make sense.
Yep. What are some things that you look at when you go to estimate projects as like an order of importance list? Like deemed priority to be fixed versus what can wait? What's kind of like the order of how you assess a property with your customers and how you walk them through what needs to be done?
It's a good question. So,
Thank you.
what I do a lot of times, firstly, while I'm on the phone with them, I ask them, what is their goal? Why are we even going to the project? What is it that they need or they think they need?
Mm-hmm.
And I always assess liability first. Number one is liability, and I stress the importance of being compliant in ADAs, of potholes, of whatever slips, trips, falls. I stress that, and I make that my number one priority. And then I'll go through and I'll ask them, so now what is important to you? Do you want to fix this alligator area, which, I mean, you got all the cracking and stuff, and it might be failing asphalt? Or, I mean, what is it? Do you want to spend as small improvement, as little as possible? Because some people, that's it. They say, we just got to drop $10,000 this year. So
Just to get them by.
Yeah, just to get them by. So I gotta take their budget into consideration, which is huge. I mean, being in the field, you knew me. I'm like, why aren't we doing this like this? This is the right way. But it's because not all clients have the same means. I mean, and so then you got to learn how to prioritize things, and I still say liability is first, then functionality,
Okay.
and then aesthetics. I mean, that's simply it.
Yep.
Aesthetics, I know that HOAs are huge on that, but they don't really want to invest a lot of times the money that it takes to get to that point. You got to get the other two steps prior to focusing on aesthetics.
Yep. Sometimes that requires building multi-year plans with them, which we've done a great job on, and that's why we have a lot of repeat business and repeat customers, is because we set up the plans now, and so that way we're working with them. Because if you gain trust by doing that, by saying, yeah, I know the seal coat is worn off, you're probably due with it, but with your budget you have this year, we should get this stuff done prior, because if you don't, then this $20,000 this year is going to be $100,000 in 3 years.
Correct. And that's where a lot of people come in and they say, this is our budget for this year. Next year, we're going to do a capital expense, and you're able to plan accordingly. I mean, this year, let's focus on this because there's no other way around it. Regardless, you're going to have to focus on liability, like I say, functionality, and then
Yes, you hit that spot on.
so
No pun intended, Mike.
spot on. I see what you did.
Little plug there. Thank you. So one thing too is we pride ourselves on, we estimate every job individually. And part of what we talk about a lot on this podcast is some of these smaller contractors who are, stuck in the same place year over year. It all kind of stems back to their estimatings, because they're just $1 or they give $1 per square foot price, and that's like their standard, or $1 per ton, whatever it is. We do stuff so individualized and tailored and customized to every single job that we don't ever give out per square foot prices.
Correct.
I've given out ranges, but whenever a customer has asked me, what do you charge for 500 square feet of sidewalk, I'm like, I don't know. Let me go take a look at it, and I'll let you know what I'll charge. Yeah. And that's hard, because people, like you said, want answers and cost immediately. But if you're still able to get out there in a quick amount of time and turn around a proposal very quickly, you still have a high chance of getting that job. But you let them know up front, like, hey, that's not how we estimate. So
yeah, exactly. You can give them a range or so, but every job is different. I completely agree. I hate that question. What's your cost per square foot? Because every single job is completely different. It has so many different things that go into it, whether it's labor, material, distance,
accessibility.
Yeah, and so the last thing I want to do is give someone, hey, it's going to be $8 a square foot. Then I go out there and then I send a proposal that's $10.50 a square foot. They're already mad at me. So that's the last thing I want to do.
No, that's a big thing, and I like that you mentioned that, because you have 1,000 square feet on one project. That could be 1,000 square feet of sidewalk back to back.
Yep.
And they can use the truck from the street to get the sidewalk. But then you have another project that's 1,000 square feet in 10 different areas, and you need a pump for it. Or you need the Georgia buggy or whatever.
Yeah, and you got your crews jumping around.
Yeah, exactly. That takes a lot more time, and people need to know in the winter seasons, you also have blankets. You need to check on those blankets. You have to pay somebody to go pick up those blankets.
Yep.
So your pricing isn't going to be the same in springtime, summer, and winter.
Yeah,
I mean,
completely right.
Fall. I forgot fall. There's another one, but that's another challenge that people don't realize. In fall, one of the biggest challenges I ran into this year with concrete was all the leaves going across the fresh concrete and the guys trying to finish.
Same thing with seal coating too.
I was about to say that seal coat coming cleaning, the fall is always the worst.
Everything that we do doesn't have a cookie cut price. And with Mike, how you said, you got to educate them as to why we're doing things a certain way and why things are this expensive now. Because most of the people that we deal with, they've known for either since the beginning of the year or multiple years that they have this issue. And they just need to address it. I mean, how do you say, bite the bullet, address it sooner than later, because otherwise it's going to get more expensive. How many clients have we not had come back with a proposal that you sent back in 2020? Like, we'd like to do this, and asphalt's doubled in price.
Yeah, Yep.
Yeah, asphalt. I've seen asphalt go up quite a bit. Never seen it go down.
How
Exactly.
high is it in Texas?
Man, when I left Texas, it was going up to the. It depends on where you are. I mean, on some companies, I don't want to give too much pricing because they have their agreements, I guess you could say, with the plants.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say some might be 58, but now up to 71. It all just, like I said, it varies. That's when things comes to square footage. Is every job's different. If I'm going to order 1,000 tons, I'm going to be getting a couple dollars less per ton. But yeah, in Texas, I mean, when I started out, it was $58 a ton, and I would love to find a plant that did $58 a ton right now.
Well, and
Some, no?
yeah, right. Oh, back when you were.
Yeah, when I was at Super, I saw some of their pricings all $47
Yeah.
a ton. I was like, damn.
It used
Yeah.
to be. It used to be cheap. Now in Texas, is it loaded? Do they? Is that brought to the what do they call it? FOB delivered?
We'd have our
58?
own trucking, so
Okay.
we'd be picking up, and in Texas, like I said, it's just a little different. We see we don't really have too much millings up there as to here because sub's 2 inches, so you're just gonna go and you're gonna demo it out,
Okay,
and so it's all a little different in Texas.
that makes sense.
That's cool. Did they mill in Texas or no?
Yeah, they milled in Texas. It's not as common because let's say if you're gonna go do here, I mean, no one's gonna want to go take out 6 full inches if it's only the top layer ruined. You're just going to mill out those top 2 inches and do it from there. But in Texas, I mean, 2 inches, you're just going to go and demo it. So it's very rare. The bigger companies are going to have the mills, but up here, as you notice, it's almost required to have a mill.
So you guys would just use skids and
Chunk it out.
chunk it out.
Exactly.
Interesting. I never really thought about
Yeah,
that.
that's what I saw in Arizona too. The same thing. I was like, man, where's their mill?
Trust me, the guys would love to have mills.
Yeah. I get it. I bet you I mean, the removal part that takes twice as long because.
And you
Exactly,
could
and that's
fit
what you
less.
factor it out because you got to
chunked out, you fit less in the trucks.
Yep.
you got to rent your mills out too instead of here. I mean, we have our cost, but we own our mill. And so if I know I need to go to a job in Texas that needs a mill, I'm gonna have to call whether it's $5,500 or $7,000 a day. So it's just it's a lot more costly in Texas.
That's pretty crazy. I don't know if I've ever asked you, how did you even get started in the industry?
I was pretty random. I mean, I was spent most like a decade down in Corpus Christi where I went to college, and me and my wife wanted to move up to Austin. I was in the oil field. Oil field went down, and so I was no longer in the oil field. Kind of just doing stuff here and there, and I made a few calls. I had a friend of mine up there. I'll give a shout out, Kim Wheeler. She kind of taught me everything I needed to know in this industry. She was a great mentor, still a good mentor. I came and applied to work with them just in the field as a striper and a sign guy, something just basic, no experience.
Okay.
And then I had another interview, and it was with the rock yard. Well, Kim decided to take my phone, call the rock yard, tell them that I'm not coming to that interview,
Just
and
like
they
that.
decided for me that this was going to be my industry, my occupation.
You're forced into
Yeah,
it.
and I haven't looked back, and I appreciate that every single day. It's something I never thought about I'd be doing. Back in college, didn't even know about this industry.
Yeah.
And now it's something I love, I'm passionate about, and I've got to work in 2 different states, a few different companies, and I love it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's cool. One thing I really like. So you guys have created almost like a team between you two primarily. Estimating in sales is interesting because everyone's trying to be top dog and have the best salesman, or have the highest sales. But we've done a good job creating a culture where you guys can work together. How have you guys figured out how to work together on certain projects and been able to help each other be successful with that?
I guess it's more so like communication. Like Gabe has his own clientele, I have my own clientele, but then comes to new adventures, I should say, or just it. I don't know. We just
It's all project dependent.
yeah, like our
honest.
personality has gone. We get to get along so well that it just works out. Like if I'm putting my eyes on something complicated, whether it's a drainage or an ADA issue, I'm pretty confident in it. But it never hurts to have a second pair of eyes jump on it. And so that's where some of the Sybil I call Gabe up. It's like, hey, this is my thought process and how I'd like to do it. What are you thinking? And then sometimes he has a different way of doing it. Makes sense. I'll change it, or I like my way. And it's just a good partnership that it just seemed like it formed out of nowhere. We just started using each other as backup, and
So used.
and now he's stuck with me.
Yep. No, I think that that's one of the bigger things. What I love, I personally love complex projects, things that you got to put a little more thought into. I get more fulfillment in it. Like,
Yeah.
and when I do that, simple things. I'm like, hey, Mike, I think I have a feeling I'm missing something in the plans, but maybe I'm not. I'm like, hey, could you look this over? And he's like, well, I mean, you do things good here. He might be able to help me. He might not. He's all has another input of, you know what? Let's just correct the verbiage for this to be specific to what you intended. And I'll just correct the verbiage, and it's something as simple as that that just slipped my mind. Like all I need is another set of eyes, another point of view on it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the computer screen all day. You're gonna miss something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good to have it, backup.
Get you mentally fried every once in a while.
Yeah.
So
Where you read something and then you forgot completely what you read.
yeah,
I've been there, and I mean, especially with the amount of plans that we're going through right now, since it's the slower season, I'm focusing more on civil stuff. Then I'm just looking at plans, and all of them start blending together.
you do like the complex projects. It cracks me up, dude. Because even last night, I wanted to tell you this, but it was just Gabe and I in the office, and I walked past his office. I was looking there to see what he's doing. He's leaning back against his chair, has his glasses down by his nose. He's just staring at the computer, just thinking.
Yeah.
And I know what goes through your head because you do think a lot about. You have a lot that goes into your thought process on how to approach it. You're very detail oriented in that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's critical, man. It's
Yeah, your field experience, man, does wonders for estimating. That's why I think I pick his brain so much. Is he might not be the most experienced estimator out there, but man, he's seen it all in the field that it's translated over so well that he's a good guy to fall on.
Yeah.
I think that's important. I appreciate that because that's where I think it's critical, and I finally have had the opportunity to kind of merge the two.
You see both sides of the
Yeah,
fence.
and that's it. And now with the field guys, even I come on this side, they're like, "Why aren't we doing things a certain way? Why aren't we doing a full depth here?" I say, "Well, the client." So I explain why we don't have either the funds or we cannot do that. If we're able to do something for a client as a good gesture, then I think that's important. That's the difference is when we do our jobs, I expect us to go above and beyond. And that reflects well on us as estimators, but on the crews as well. Because the crews, fortunately, have gotten just as much kudos from the client as we have. In many other companies,
awesome, man.
it's just who gets the recognition? The managers, the management. But the crews, because we estimate it well, we set the crews up for success as well.
Completely
And
agree with
people see that.
Yep. Not every job is going to be perfect, and we've had our jobs that we've failed at this year.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, we try to give our guys the biggest opportunity to run a successful project from the start. So, you guys have both been around different companies. I know you've been working here as long as pretty much I have.
Yes, sir.
But from your past companies, we'll start with you, Mike. What have you noticed that is different about the way National Pavement Partners does stuff that could help other smaller companies want to scale? Like, what have you noticed that we've done different that sets us up for our success?
Yeah, like I said, I have plenty of mentors that were in other companies. I still talk to today, and it's great. But what I found in this company is just the resources and the teamwork is like here. It seems like a lot of jobs I'm just used to. If it's my project, I take it, I run with it. It's on me. I mean, here it's not that case. If I have something else going on, or if I need a little more resource, or if I have some questions, I can call operations, I can call Gabe, I can call you out there. I mean, it's just the teamwork at this thing makes a huge difference. It's almost like you said, when it comes to sales here, we all have our goals to meet, but I want to help Gabe hit his goal.
Yeah.
Gabe wants to help me hit my goal.
Yep.
And so where else I'm seeing it's kind of like you're on your own. You need to go hit this goal. And so that's something I really appreciate and what I like from moving over here. And that's something very new. I don't know if I've shown it here, but yeah, I'm not used to having all that help and all the resources. I'm just used to having it all thrown on me and go with it. And so it's a lot nicer. I get a little more freedom outside of work, a little less
good.
phone calls,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to complain about that at all.
Yep. That's part of it too, and that's what you're going for is less phone calls next year. But I think you talked about being more selective with the jobs that you're going to choose to work and the customers that you're going to choose to work with next year. Be less of a yes man.
So
speak.
what I learned this year, I mean these past couple of years more than anything, but I took more note of it this year, was you feel used by certain people just because they want a number, they already know who they're going with, but they just need that third bid.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's like I put a lot of myself into these proposals, into all this stuff because I want it to come out right. But then when I'm not even considered or nobody returns a call or I follow up and I get nothing from the client, that makes me feel pretty. I like pretty used
Yeah.
in a sense because it's like this took time from my life that I'm not gonna get back. I mean that's what it is ultimately. And now it's like with certain clients, I gotta learn how to read how much how serious they are, I guess, because that's ultimately it. I mean, if you're just being used for a third proposal, I mean, just put together $1 million.
Yeah, where's the motivation on that? I completely agree. Because we'll go above and beyond. I mean, I've seen him do it on jobs for about any customer out there. But I completely agree. If we keep bidding, let's say there's a certain contractor out there and we've thrown multiple bids out there, we're not getting any feedback. Hey, our numbers are too high, or hey, we're not winning it because of this. Then as an estimator, we got to go on and we got to find a new customer that's going to, I hate to use the word, but like appreciate our knowledge and our help.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Your time, your
Yeah,
time is
time
what
is
it is. So that's just big, man. I mean, yeah, it because you've seen here multiple times. I'm here all late at night and hearing spooky sounds in the building. I don't know, hearing door
haunted.
creaking. I'm like, who's there?
Your
Hello.
night shift.
Yeah, right.
And then some little girl comes out. It's like, no, but there's it's just the time. That's what I need to, just as I need the client to respect my time, I need to respect my time too. And that's why I need to be very much more selective in who I'm working with. And I think we're at a point, fortunately, where we can do that.
Yep. One thing I learned, I think I brought it up last meeting, was figuring out a way to grow your personal capacity. We heard this at a leadership kind of meeting, and estimating there's a lot of responsibilities you have and to dos, and like when season's going, you guys are like going balls to the wall. I think probably another thing you realize too from when I would meet you out on job sites when you're in the field versus now, you guys were slammed, but I don't think you realized how busy the sales part of it is. And I think that's a big misconception. Yeah, big misconception from the field guys looking at the sales guys like, oh, these guys are just the assholes who only care about the money and, they're just lazy in the
Playing games on the
office.
computer,
Yeah,
right?
playing Minecraft or, whatever the hell they play nowadays. But you see how much time is put into, like you said, each individual estimate. And when you're constantly like not getting the results you want and you realize the people that are using you, you're like, okay, so now I need to be more strategic with who I want to work with, what kind of jobs I want to do, whether I want to focus on new construction, whether I want to focus on heavy maintenance work, whatever it is, find what works for you as your own personal estimator or your own, estimating style and run with it. But now we are fortunate because our company is in a position where we can be selective who we want to work with. Well, that should be the goal of other companies, is to get to that point over the years. So for a certain period of time, you have to kind of eat crow, I think is what they call it. Yeah. But when you're there, then you really focus more on being strategic.
So there's nothing wrong with saying no. If it's a bad fit for our company, it might be a bad fit for them as well. The last thing we want to do out there is go put out a bad product.
Yep.
And so if we have to say no to keep that from happening, that's best case for everyone.
I agree. And I think that one of the biggest things is don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Like, hey, I've put out multiple bids to you. What is the problem? And hopefully they're honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what do you call it? Positive criticism or
constructive
criticism. I think maybe they're like, you know what? I mean, I just have my preferred vendor, and that's it. Maybe they're like, you know what? Your numbers are just too high, or what not. But you need that feedback in order to work on what you're doing and in order to improve yourself.
Completely agree.
And to see if their feedback is something that you want to continue to pursue. If it's reasonable, great. All right, I'll make some tweaks.
If it just doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, because we're always learning in this industry. Every single day there's something new, something we haven't gotten through. So asking that simple question, like Gabe's saying with the customer, is something that's going to help us out in the future.
Yeah, starting better. I think, yeah, for feedback for sure. But I think if we set ourselves up better when the estimate and lead first comes in, and ask better questions to find out their intentions, their timing, their actual needs, I think that's going to set us up to be more selective during, the estimating process. Decide, okay, what's worth our time, what's not.
Exactly. They can call up 5 different estimators, and they could have 5 different proposals. I might go out and see something that's completely opposite of what another, estimator goes out and looks at. And so I think you're completely right. You have to know what their expectations are, what they're looking to get completed. I mean, you got to ask the right questions, and you're exactly right on that.
Yeah.
Go
What
ahead.
is it their what are their wants versus their needs? I mean, that's just it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's key because, like I say, I mean, they're trusting us with the experience, but you're dealing with a retired bus driver,
Yeah,
and
it's
they think they know what they want, but is this truly what they need? And they gotta if they're calling us, it's because they're trusting our view, our opinion, our insight.
especially for like HOAs too. You
Yes,
get
sir.
somebody on the board and they've been an engineer for 37 years, and then
They retired in '79.
Yeah, right.
This is how they did
Yeah,
it.
he's Mr. Big Dick
Yeah.
leading the charge, and that's unfortunately the problem with HOAs. But we've been able to work with that. But I think there's no problem with giving pushback as an estimator and finding out, hey, why do I continue to waste my time with you when you don't give me anything? Like, you can shift the way that you're treated by just having kind of a real conversation with these customers and by asking better questions.
Yeah.
So coming into 2023, what's your guys' like biggest goals for yourselves for your estimating?
Probably my biggest goal, and I mentioned in the meeting, is I came here in March, and so I've almost put a full year in with this company. I want to be a lot more vocal, a lot more involved. I feel like I have the experience, I have a different kind of experience that you guys have, just from the different field experiences and my background. And so that's probably my biggest goal is I want to be more vocal within the company.
Cool. Okay, that's a great one. What about you?
That's good. In all reality, I think time management. I say that every year, but every year I'm super busy, and it's like I invest. I need to balance life with work life, and since I am a single father, it's like they need me there as much as the family here, work family needs me here. So I gotta figure out how to balance that a little bit better. One simple thing that I want to do, and I've discussed this with Mike, is I want to be my son's soccer coach next year.
Okay.
I'm going to be my son's soccer coach.
Perfect.
Next year.
Love it.
There we go. And that's huge. But in the sales side of stuff, I want to trust the field better. That is a big goal. And be able to let go because I know they're there to help us as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to learn how to trust that they're going to do things right. And if they mess up, how are we going to learn from it? What do they got to do different? Because I'm assuming there's a problem there that doesn't even exist yet. It exists up here. So I got to let go of that and let my birdies fly.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I'm excited going into this next year. Where this year was a huge turning page from years in the past, and next year it's just going to be refining really everything. And I know the software that we're doing for MPP is going to be tremendous help. So looking forward to seeing how that pans out. And
You're doing big things.
we're trying, man. We noticed that construction has two main problems: is it's outdated and there's too much paper.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll add a third one. There's too many programs that contractors use to make their business run. So we're like, why not put all of our programs, paper, processes through one program from start to finish instead of having to do stuff like, okay, when a lead comes in, then you put it into HubSpot. Then Hayden will
completely
call
agree.
Mike and say, hey, Mike, you got a new lead.
You're
All
bridging the
that
gap.
you're
man.
bridging all that gap and all that small time, which is going to add up to getting to have more time on the back end of being able to coach your son's team. So it's really to help bring more sanity back to our employees and our team, because I don't want to be doing this shit all.
Yeah, from what I've seen
time.
too, coming to this company, it's a bigger company with the technology. Is the company I've worked with in the past? It doesn't have to be that hard. It seems like the process, the stress on all these paving companies is so high, but it does not have to be. You got to lean on the support of your staff, like you guys do. You got to build the right resources. I mean, I can't stress enough. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah. Everyone overcomplicates. It's already a very complicated business just to get even like a
Give a
paving
little
job.
more.
Exactly.
Yeah, even like a paving job. There's already too many logistics. The plant has to be running right. The trucks have to be good.
So
Traffic.
Traffic's got to be good. So there's already enough logistics. So making it more simple for you guys to make everything else easier is going to save you a lot of headache, because we already deal with it
Yeah,
a
and the
lot.
same thing when it comes to the customer, like the transparency. That's what I love about our app here is it shows on spot on site. Everything that we're going to do is right there on the map. So
Yep.
the customer knows, okay, they're going to be working in that area. They're going to be doing the 2-inch mill right there. Or this
You
area is
have
going
your
to be full
notes,
depth.
your video, whatever
Exactly.
you might
And
need.
so they know everything that's going to go on. If they have questions beforehand, it's right there in their hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. Client
Bridges a
transparency.
huge gap, man.
Yep.
I mean, I think you're doing big things with that, just the app alone. And I mean, this podcast, which educates everybody. Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Coming for you, Joe.
Coming for you. No, but it's honestly, what you're doing is not too complex for the everyday guy. So if people are afraid of, you know what, I don't need no more technology, they just need to try it, see how simple things are,
Oh, yeah.
and how much easier it makes your life and the guys in the field's life. And I mean, I do, even to present to a client, it's like, this is professional, it's clean, and they love it. I think it's,
Yeah.
it's
Spot
nice.
on site's been a lifesaver for me from what I'm used to. I mean, you're used to thinking, all right, you got every job in the palm of your hand on your phone. So if a customer calls you, I mean, you might have 20 different jobs going on. How am I supposed to know everything about that job? I mean, my memory is just not there. Someone else's might be, but I can just simple as that, pull up my phone, pull up the app. Everything I need is right there. And
And then you got the assessment too, which with HOAs, presidents, whoever might have requested that you go out and look at the project, you have the assessment, and you'll make yourself available. I do, just in case they have an HOA meeting. But before, in the past, man, I was going to the 7 o'clock HOA meetings, 8 o'clock, and it was just consuming my time. And now they have everything that you're going to present them with.
exactly.
But then they could do it, and they look like the hero.
Exactly. And that's what we want to make the customers, being the property managers, really looking
Instead
like
of just
the hero.
guessing when they get that paper, be like, okay, they're going to do some seal coating, some repairs, but they don't know where that's going to happen. I mean, the spawn site has the map, has the picture, and like he said, we don't even have to be there if they
Yeah,
don't.
and they can even do an assessment themselves and send it to me.
Yep.
And then they send it to me, and I just create a bid off of that. And right there is when they have the apples to apples. They can send
Perfect.
it to you, to whatever other company, and this guy, and I don't even have to visit the site really.
Yep.
And right there, I have everything, because visiting the site, I would do the exact same thing they're doing.
Yep.
Yep.
I wish I would have had this resources in Texas. I'm not going to lie. That's why I tell all my buddies down there all the time. It's like, let me set you up with a demo. It is worth it. I'm not just trying to sell it to you because I'm a sales guy. I actually use it. I like it. It's worth it.
Yeah. And I'll pay you guys your $20 for giving me some plugs and some kudos over here. No.
Deal.
But no, this is, I mean, it's real, which is why we decided we need to put money behind it, because if we deal with this problem, we see our customers dealing with this problem on a day-to-day basis. How many other contractors are still dealing with the same issues and wasting time going back and forth to sites, or having to stop and go to the office to answer a phone call because they don't have any other documentation that's mobile? So
I think in the construction world, you found a big problem that we've run into, and you've found a solution to it at the same time. I mean,
that's the goal.
that's just it. And having this available, this is no infomercial. I'm for $2.99.
Yeah.
Call
No.
right now.
Yeah.
Call right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but for having this available right now, I think to people that know about it now, if they're not using something like this, if they're not using this that can completely bridge the gap and have all this transparency, it's a foolish move. In all reality, I mean, this bridges the gap between the field, the guys, HOAs, their members, store owners, whatever it might be. This bridges it, and you give them a trial, they could try it, man. I mean, to not do that and take advantage of that, that would be foolish. I mean, you look so much more professional having something like this.
And like you said, some guys like will sit on a quote for 6 months, 1 year. Well, how am I supposed to know that repair 1 year later? And if there's any changes or anything like that, it's all documented. It, like I said, the transparency is just there.
You can go back and update the photo, same exact spot later on, a year later, because the map will take you right to it.
Yeah, and then it's going
you
to
can see-
obviously grow in that
Yeah,
year
get
time.
bigger.
And so now you can explain to them, all right, well, this is why it's going up. The patch is growing, 10, 15 square feet. Asphalt's gone up this much. And like I said, it's all there. And so they can trust you.
It's also a great log. In April of 2022, we did this parking lot here. These are the next ones. It helps you plan for the future, and I think as a property management company or property manager, it's absolutely necessary.
Yep.
For
that's
sure.
that's the goal, is to get it in both hands, because there's one common goal with us as contractors and property managers managing their properties, is to complete and maintain their properties. We want to get the work so we make revenue. They want to get the work done so they can maintain and hold on to the property. So it's a common goal that's shared. So eventually, that's why we're pushing both sectors, is to have exactly what you're talking about. You can property managers can create the RFPs or drop spots on everything that they need fixed, so that way everyone's bidding the same scope of work. Because how much time is wasted for them going back and forth? And then how many times have we lost bids because somebody's been $10,000 cheaper than us, but they're
doing something totally different.
totally different, way less square footage, half the areas.
And then just the amount of time you lose walking on a property and looking for the problems, trying to identify things. I mean, sometimes there's cars parked over potholes and you don't even see it,
Yep.
You're walking by. So it's like with this, either a maintenance tech on site or something like that, it makes things completely transparent and apples to apples for companies. So
Totally agree.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. One last thing too, and we'll quit talking about SOS after this. But I think when you said your clients love it, we've gotten from programs that we used in the past, by having something different to show our customers, like when we do meet them on site to do walkthroughs, by having like spot on site saying, here's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a site map that's going to have literally everything that we're proposing to do, the pictures, and you show them how to use it. It's a great sales tool for your company, because it shows that your company's ahead of the curve and that they're going to get transparency, and they have an expectation of what they're going to get back from you, versus Joe Schmo is going to send a bid, another company's going to send a bid, and all it's going to have is just the name of the service, going to say concrete, $10,000.
Yep.
And they're not going to know what the hell it is, but
or where it is.
but using it while you're actually meeting with the customers on site, even have them like freaking drop a spot for you so they can see it and feel how you assess their parking lot. It's a great tool.
See the
all
simplicity in it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, what I've been doing, so I have property in Greeley, is I go back to that spot and I take a picture of the work being done, because the owners live in Texas of that shopping center or something. So now I give the full assessment with the repairs. I haven't had a problem collecting any payment,
Yeah, and like I said,
awesome.
they can check in progress. As we're uploading pics, they can view those instantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that I completely.
Reshare the link. Yeah, we got a lot of big stuff coming out here pretty quick for it. So it'll be.
So not everything's bigger in Texas.
Most things are. So.
Asphalt isn't.
That is true. I guess this industry, no.
Yeah, right. Well, this was an awesome episode. Thank you guys for hopping on.
No, this is
You know,
awesome.
you guys have great feedback, and that's why you guys are stud estimators. Obviously,
Appreciate that.
everyone thinks their sales team is badass, but I think ours is, just because of the amount of care you guys have, the teamwork you have, and the diligence that you put into each estimate. So we'll wrap this one up. This is episode 9 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast with Mike and Gabe, 2 of our stud estimators with National Pavement Partners. See you next week for episode 10.
Watch out, Joe Rogan.